Alright, so the first step for making classic hard house, tidy boys, BK, sort of club caviar style is we're at 145 BPM and you're gonna need to start with a big fat 909 kick. So this is one of my techno kicks actually that I made. You can see I pitched it here so that it's in key with the track and the bass line. Not much else. You really don't want to do too much over processing with this style. I think a lot of these tracks back in the day, well, first of all, I think a lot of these tracks were made just using like straight up sample libraries, like not even maybe always knowing a whole lot about how to make crazy kicks, right? But just in general, as far as production of this stuff goes, I think it's meant to be quick and just moving, you know, just get a fat kick, maybe spend time making kicks ahead of time, but it's really meant to be like a simple process, right? So we just have a kick, not a whole lot of processing, just tuned to be in key, and I made it a little bit shorter. Then we got our bass line. So here's the MIDI for this. This is holding down the chord progression in the track for the most part. There's also a pad, but this is where you really feel it, right? So our chord progression here is A minor, G major, F major, G major. And so this is essentially like the intersection between chord progression and rhythm and like percussion. Right, it's a very percussive bass if you just think about it in that terms. It starts with this sub bass here. Sub bass, obviously you hear some mids, but this is what's holding down the low end, and it's also got a phase retrigger on it. So this is a square wave inside of operator. I got a low pass with an envelope, you know, all that kind of stuff. But the important thing for the sub here is the phase retrigger so that you have that steady note every time. If I turn it off, your bass is a lot less even, right? So you got that, and then I'm doing a little bit of a sub cut just to get rid of some of the mud, and then we have the top layer. So I think back in the day they were using stuff like Virus TI for this, right? That was very popular in the genre. As far as nowadays, you can just do it with Ableton Wavetable or Serum or anything like that. Just like wavetables are really good for getting that kind of different flavor, so you don't get stuck with that basic sine and saw and square and triangle thing. We do have a square in here for a little bit more body, but it's blended with this X mod. And then I've got an envelope on the oscillator position, on the filter frequency, on a few different things. And then we got a high pass filter so it fits with the other bass, and then we're just side chaining these. So then we have our main drums, and I got a new technique here. So you hear that main hi-hat, obviously in the style it has a lot of like rhythm, like so what I've done here is I've taken this hi-hat. So you have like a main fat 909 hi-hat, but then you got, right? And this is also recreating, again, going back to like, I know these guys used a lot of those Vengeance Club Sounds libraries and a lot of those kinds of things, and like, those have a lot of samples in there that kind of already have that so that's how you would create that. Then we got our clap. I'm distorting this clap, and then we get like a big fat kind of more, almost like a snare, but it just sits really well. We have basically like this breakbeat I've created using a few different rave loops, and then I'm high passing it. See, they all do different things, and then it sort of comes together to create a breakbeat. And some high-passed house loops, which again, going back to this style, these guys used, I think they were honestly a lot of times just literally sampling house tracks and then speeding them up to create the drum loops. So I've just got a bunch of those, and then you layer it all together. I mean, when you play it all, it's going to be like... Right, it's quite a substantial part of the mix, these loops, but this is how they did it back in the day. Then we move on to our melodic synths. So it starts here with this first lead. It's playing, we're in the key of A minor. So we're going root, 4th, 9th, 3rd. Really simple, but it's like a bit of call and response, I think, is very important here. Like call, response, right? Now, the other thing you'll notice here is it's following the same rhythm as the bass line, so it gets really... like, it makes it really powerful and simple. And they also all have this same logic swing here. Like, if you look at the bass, even the other lead has that. As far as the sound on this lead goes, it's made with some layers of wavetables. So I've got this one, which is this transistor saw with crazy phase sync unison, and then this one, which is another wavetable with like a bit of a slower unison, right? And then you put them together. Now, just straight out of the synth, they sound like this. Bit of delay, but it's not quite like full enough or powerful enough yet. So then we add this multi-band distortion. You can see I'm literally just distorting the mids and highs separately and then summing it all together, and then we get the lows. Even though there's not really much lows going on, we just have those not being distorted. It keeps it really clean, and this gives you this really cool detailed distortion sound. And then we're just side chaining it. Then we got this lead. So it's playing this rhythm, right? This right, and we got the swing on that. You can really hear it with this one. You can also see the note length is really important. But what we're doing is we're basically following the chord progression down here. Really simple, just the same progression I showed you with the bass, A, G, F, G. But then up here we're going 5th, 6th, 4th, 5th. So again, that call and response sort of template. That's what makes these tracks so catchy, is the call and response in the melodies. Now, for the sound on this one, you can see it's a pretty simple, it's basically this saw square thing where I'm blending those two, and then this sub 2 wavetable. Low pass filter with a nice punchy envelope on it. Position sync unison, which gives you that cool sound, or position spread, excuse me, like if you do the other ones. You know, it's a bit more of like that. This gives you like that cool, unique texture. A bit of delay, which is on eighth notes and ping pong, so you're getting like a bit of stereo width from it. Some drum bus, here's without it. So again, just makes it a bit fatter and kind of really brings it forward. A bit of a high pass filter, and then we're just side chaining that to the kick. Then we have our pad. So pretty simple, like pad strings here, basically using the same chord progression that you saw on the bass line. The thing is, if you look at this, if you look at the root notes, it's not the same. I shouldn't say root notes, but it's not the same low notes, because what I've done is I've inverted these chords. So this would be like that basic A minor chord, for example, right? 1, 3, 5. I've taken the 3, put it up, and the 5 and put it down. And it gives you these like bigger, more epic sounding chords. What it really reminds me of is like disco, which I think is something that's kind of meant to be alive in this track, in these type of tracks, even if it's more like electric and more futuristic and stuff, and definitely faster and heavier. You know, it very much has that big disco kind of string section sound. Now, I made this using wavetable. I'll turn off all the effects just so you can hear it, what it sounds like on its own. We got this trombone wavetable and then this Sines 4. Just a bit of LFO on the trombone and then some shimmer unison, a bit of overdrive. Kind of helps give it more of that stringy sort of feel, like the unevenness, because it has uneven harmonics now, right? Then we're high passing it. Reverb, and then sidechain. And you notice with the sidechains here, I used the EQ and the high pass, so we're just sidechaining it to the click in the kick. Like it's just being sidechained to that. And yeah, so that's gonna be it for this one, guys. You requested it, so I went ahead and made it. This is how to make classic hard house Club Caviar BK Tidy Boy style. Make sure to grab this template at the top of the description on my website. It's the best way to make this type of track today and get started. It's a really great template that can help you out a lot with these types of tracks. So make sure to go ahead and grab it. Thanks for the support, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.